So, welcome to Year 2, Lesson 1.2, where we are going to talk about reflection and the importance of reflecting together. So, there's a lot of reflection in the Good Project lesson plans, and this lesson is really focused on talking about sort of stepping back and talking about why we reflect. So the lesson goal is that students will be able to demonstrate recognition of reflective practices and also reflect together as a group. Assessment has to do with monitoring participation, as always, and analyzing exit tickets. Here is the actual exit ticket itself. And then the resources are involving art as metaphor. We found it super enjoyable activity for students. And so the slides here will help you walk through that activity. We also have an optional refresher reminding students of the lesson they did on reflection last year. Again, if you have students who didn't participate last year, you could certainly give them a heads up about what that was like last year, what they might have missed. And here is that handout just to have it nice and close by for you. So, 5-minute opener. What is reflection? We remind students that there are several different definitions of reflection involving careful consideration, attentive, critical, exploratory, and iterative interactions with one's own thoughts. Reminding them that this is how the Good Project describes reflection, routinely stopping, pausing, considering where one is coming from, what we've learned. Reflection can take place individually, in pairs or small groups, and also in large groups. And we're really hoping that the expectation here, remind the students that the expectation is that process of reflection really becomes a habit. So that's the opening, and the bulk of this lesson is spent in an art as metaphor reflection activity. So I'll just pull up the slides, but before I do that, I want to emphasize that the activity uses art as a metaphor for one's own understanding of reflection. So they're going to see 5 images and ask them to quickly choose the image that they feel most represents the idea of reflection to them. And then you're going to show them 5. They can choose, give them maybe 5 to 10 seconds on each, ask them to choose one that really speaks to them. And then you're going to put them in small groups and ask them to discuss why it really speaks to them in terms of reflection. So here are the slides, and I can just kind of show you what I might talk about or what might speak to me. So here's one image. I would think this is someone thinking and reflecting themselves, perhaps. And there are multiple ways that reflection is happening, both in the classes, a kind of literal thing, but then also taking the time to pause and think. And here's another. There's the literal reflection in the water, but then also, perhaps I'm the viewer and I'm sitting here and it's a beautiful day and I'm thinking about why I enjoy being out in nature. So these are just some examples of how individuals may reflect. The activity is encouraging them to dig into some of those preconceptions and share that with one another. And then we will ask everyone to come back together as a full class and talk about what one another's reflections have been. So not only are they thinking themselves about what reflection is, they're hearing from others about what their reflective process is, and then reflecting together as a group, as a whole. So then, because there's all of this deep thinking, we have a kind of metacognition moment. Why is it that we reflect? What do we get out of it? And here are some good questions to consider. Obviously, I'm sure you have many as well. We encourage you to think about that. What did you notice, for example, about the act of slowing down during the group discussion about the works of art? And then how do you think the outcomes of this activity would have been different if you'd only been asked to reflect on your own choice of artwork alone? So asking them to differentiate between individual reflection and group reflection. So there are a lot of suggestions here of questions. We certainly encourage you to start there, but use your own as well. And then here is an exit ticket asking, and there are choice there are choices here about which kind of exit ticket, which reflective activity might be most suited for your students, or they could also choose themselves. So that is lesson 1.2. Hope it's a good one.